Are you not ashamed of yourself? You're with the world's most invasive species.
Once again, the same country, the same problem.
You're a biological weapon in this country.
India's massive wealth was looted by the European Christian colonizers and other invaders.
There's 1.3 billion Pajits.
Just leave us, okay?
This is the whitest country on earth.
Hungry and extremely poor Europeans and their mass migration to a non-European country.
Look at you.
What are you doing?
Why don't you have some more plastic?
And despite that, so many people of European ancestry still have the audacity to call others invaders. Unfortunately, once again, the same country, the same problem. And yes, on the basis of what my husband, as a tourist, has experienced in Poland in the past, I'm not particularly shocked that it is happening again and again. But before I dig deep into the problem, I would like you to watch this video.
Are you not ashamed of yourself? You're with the world's most invasive species. You're the world's most irresponsible breeders. You're in the whitest country possible.
What do you mean everything?
Yes. You're a biological weapon in this country. Hey, Pajit. Pajit, you're a biological weapon in this country. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a white woman. What are you going to do? Mix your genetics up with?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? There's 1.3 billion of those Pajits.
What are you talking about me like that?
There's 1.3 billion Pajits.
Just leave us, okay?
This is the whitest country on
Leave
earth.
us.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Leave us. Okay?
Be ashamed of yourself.
What are you doing?
Be ashamed. Look at you.
What are you doing?
Why don't you have some more plastic?
This video was posted on X recently. It got 1 million+ views. And though we do not know the exact time and location of this incident, one thing seems clear. It happened in Poland, and the offender's nationality cannot be confirmed just by his accent. But I must point out that it was not the only time something like this happened in Poland. A while ago, a man from India experienced something similar, and at that time, the offender was American. Now, coming back to the verbal attacks that the Indian man faced, several offensive words were used, particularly regarding the so-called invasion by Indians. Let's try to understand this. Indian tourists, Indian business owners, Indian students, and Indian talent are actively sought after by various foreign nations and their institutions. These foreign nations have their embassies in India, through which the arrival of Indians in their countries is facilitated. So, according to this racist man, are these foreign embassies which are operating in India and are seeking Indian talent and money, facilitating the so-called invasion of their own countries? Does the abuser even know what invasion and invaders are? No, I am not talking about the frequent Western military invasions that take place around the world. I am referring to the white European invaders who colonized and invaded multiple countries, and today their descendants are living as proud citizens in those countries. Yes, don't ignore the fact that people of European descent are still sitting on land that has been stolen or acquired from indigenous peoples. And despite that, so many people of European ancestry still have the audacity to call others invaders. Yes, as far as the active or ongoing European expansionism is concerned, how else would you explain the continued presence of people of European descent in countries like New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and the USA? And as far as altering the demographics through European expansionism is concerned, what is a colonial criminal state like France doing to the demographics of the so-called French overseas territories? I explained that in this video. And what did this man mean to say when he used the term biological weapons?
You're a biological weapon in this country. Hey, Pajit.
Not only that, from Africa, where Germany committed one of the most effective genocides in history, to the heartbreaking demise of the Beothuk of North America, Europeans have already caused a lot of irreversible damage and destruction to humanity. And yes, when it comes to mass killings, how can anyone forget the millions of deaths that Europeans caused in India through famines, massacres, and violence? On the other hand, when Poles were experiencing immense persecution, Indians sheltered and saved thousands of them for years. Go and learn some history about India's Valivada camp and Jamnagar. And don't forget that India is also home to numerous foreign workers and expats, many of whom are from Europe and America. Now, do you want to know why Indians are present in foreign countries? Well, if Western countries are facing skill deficits, suffering from labor shortages, suffering from low fertility rates, and are now almost desperately dependent on foreign workers to survive, it is not the Indians' fault. In a way, Indians are rescuing many from their own economic collapse. So instead of abusing Indians, learn how to be grateful to them. Yes, in foreign countries, Indians are creating jobs, filling the skill shortages, driving commerce in various ways, increasing tourism opportunities, and feeding the hungry and homeless populations despite all the hate, racism, and abuse they receive. Before I move forward, I would like to appeal to our well-wishers to support and share our work. The algorithms may not support us, but at least you can support those who are risking everything to stand for India and Indians on the global stage, right? Yes, Poland should take such crimes very seriously, especially when it seems that such racist or supremacist attitudes have been a part of the nation's psyche for a long time. For example, how many of you are aware of this? As observed here, there was a time when it was fashionable among Polish magnates to have a black servant. And as mentioned here, Polish novelist Henryk Sienkiewicz, in his representation of non-whites as savages, presents whites, Europeans, as bearers of civilization. Yes, this Polish man was awarded a Nobel Prize and is considered a role model or hero for many. As described here, many in Poland equated blackness with representations such as savage, cruel, and ugly. There are multiple Polish expressions and offensive words that are still used in everyday talk with reference to black people. Yes, there are plenty of good and kind-hearted people in Poland, I'm not denying that. But after knowing all this, are you still surprised that people of color fleeing Ukraine were attacked by Polish nationalists? Even some Indians face that. Yes, today Poland is one of the most ethnically and religiously homogeneous countries in Europe, but no, it was not like this always. Don't forget that Poland once had the largest Jewish population in the world. The world knows what happened to those Jews, right? So how did Poland end up becoming so ethnically and religiously homogeneous? Well, as described here, continued racism in the post-1945 era, border shifts during the Soviet era, and mass deportations of non-Polish residents contributed to that. And yes, that includes mass deportations of Germans from Poland. Yes, we shouldn't forget what Germany did to Poles, but during and after the Second World War, what happened to millions of Germans who were living in Poland is something that not everybody knows and talks about. Yes, following the horrific crimes of Nazi Germany, the mass expulsion of ethnic Germans from places such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, and the Soviet Union has often been overlooked in history books. It has been described as not merely the largest forced migration, but probably the largest single movement of population in human history. Hundreds of thousands of Germans ended up in internment camps in conditions that were fatal and cruel. Not only that, but when it comes to Poland, many mistakenly believe that Poles had no role in colonization. Many also think that Poles did not benefit from colonization, and then some even think that Poles didn't share the white Christian supremacist attitude at all. But such attitudes are questionable, very questionable. And yes, as far as the idea of colonization is concerned, Poland seriously flirted with colonialism on numerous occasions. Just because Poland was too weak to colonize, and Poland's colonial dreams could not materialize how many wanted them to, it doesn't mean we should forget what Poles were trying to do in Africa or elsewhere. Today, the Polish diaspora, just like the Indian diaspora, is present in different parts of the world. Just like Indians, many Poles have also faced racism or discrimination in multiple countries. But racists who want to harm innocent tourists, visitors, or expats in Poland, fearing the so-called demographic change, should not forget how many Polish immigrants who are facing hunger and poverty have themselves contributed to the demographic change abroad through their mass migration. Have you not heard of how Polish immigrants settled in Brazil? Yes, as described here, the main reasons for immigration were poverty and hunger. 1891 was a crucial year as more than 200,000 immigrants came to Brazil. Many extremely poor people from Poland decided to go to Brazil. Not only that, as observed here, these journeys were illegal. So there you go. Here is another story of hungry and extremely poor Europeans and their mass migration to a non-European country and changing its demographics. And as far as changing religious demographics is concerned, let's not forget the key role that Polish Catholic missionaries have played around the world in terms of what is perceived as cultural genocide of native cultures by many. Never forget what various European colonizers and invaders have looted or stolen from India. $45 trillion. That is what just the British alone stole from India. Yes, India's massive wealth was looted by the European Christian colonizers and other invaders who looted and robbed India to build their own nations. And yes, Paul should understand that when $45 trillion were looted from India and brought to Europe, it didn't just bring prosperity to Britain through indirect means such as trade, commerce or remittance. Britain's prosperity brought wealth to other parts of Europe, including Poland. So before I sign off, I want to say this. I get disturbed when I see incidents like these, regardless of who the victim or offender is. But as long as the Western academia continues to teach the twisted history to people, as long as the Christian supremacists' task of the total evangelization of the world is alive, and as long as the Western media sharks continue with their practice of victim shaming those nations who are the survivors of the Western colonization and neocolonization, incidents such as these will probably never stop. See you again